I understand you would say that he was resurrected. Doesn't science say that doesn't happen? Doesn't experience tell us that doesn't happen?
We've already seen 4 miracles that are orders of magnitude more improbable than that carpenter walking out of a Jerusalem tomb.
Are there miracles that secular naturalists believe and presuppose that are actually more outlandish than the resurrection of Jesus? Well, according to this clip I stumbled across from Glenn Scrivener, he lays out quite a few miracles that are more outlandish than the resurrection of Jesus, that everyone,
that even atheists believe,
who's a secular humanist, secular materialist, whatever you want to call it, all agree with and presuppose.
I understand you would say that he was resurrected.
Absolutely.
Do we really believe that?
Yeah.
Doesn't science say that doesn't happen? Doesn't experience tell us that doesn't happen? It's a bit like creation. I mean, how can you believe these things?
Check this out.
Okay. You say
and why does it matter? So it's not just the death.
Right.
Surely.
No, it is not. It isn't just the death. So, I mean, scientifically, we've already seen 4 miracles that are orders of magnitude more improbable than that carpenter walking out of a Jerusalem tomb. Okay.
So his claim, shout to Glenn, there's 4 claims that science believes are more miraculous than the carpenter walking out of the empty tomb.
All right.
He's going to lay them out.
That's a big thing to say.
Well, everything's come from nothing, John.
Right. Yeah, all right, I get it.
Is this guy atheist?
I don't know who, I honestly don't know who this guy is, but I do know that Glenn is an apologist and he slaps, he's fired.
Okay.
Everything's come from nothing.
Everything's come from nothing. Yeah. So, I believe in the virgin birth of Jesus, but this is the virgin birth of the cosmos without a virgin. for no reason, And so everything's come from nothing. Order has come from chaos, because if we have come from a giant explosion, it's the most finely tuned explosion I've ever seen.
Okay.
Everything comes from nothing. Mm-hmm. Order comes from chaos.
Yeah.
The universe has a virgin birth that's even more inexplainable.
I also heard another thing. I mean, I don't know how accurate it is, but it was saying that for everything for order to come from chaos, meaning an explosion to perfectly create everything as it is, has the same probability of a tornado whipping up all the parts of a Boeing 747, and by the end of the tornado, the entire Boeing 747
reassembled.
Is reassembled. The entire Boeing airplane is reassembled.
It's kind of
great. So yeah, and so it's like that. When you put it in that perspective, it's like, well, I mean, it's energy, and it created some. It's like no. We're talking about destruction, creating
disorder,
something.
creating order. Yeah, absolutely. No, that's a great metaphor. We got to figure out who came up with that.
Yeah,
I'm interrupting again, which I say
good.
But my understanding is that as we understand the order, this extraordinary order at a micro and a macro level for life to survive, I understand that's something that a lot of scientists find very challenging and draws them back to the idea that it can't have been an accident.
Well, it forces you to say, is this designed, or are we part of a multiverse, right? And this is really a rabbit trail, but I mean, the problem for me about the multiverse is that it's an unscientific hypothesis, because how would you test the existence of another universe that has different laws to our own law? Like, you can only test things that have the same laws that we have in our own universe. And so it seems to me to be an unscientific escape from a distasteful conclusion that an atheist scientist might see a design argument. And instead of going for a designer, they escape that way. And so we've had everything from nothing. We've had order has come from chaos. Life has emerged from non-life, right? How do you go from chemistry, prebiotic chemistry, to biology? It's a big problem. It's a big issue. I happen to believe that one man walked out of a Jerusalem tomb 2,000 years ago. I happen to believe that the non-living Jesus became living. But the atheistic account of biology is that all life came from non-living material.
That's amazing.
Isn't that good?
He's like, I just have one resurrection. You believe in all of life being resurrected from nothing.
Yeah. I believe in a virgin birth. You believe in a virgin universe. This is amazing. I'm excited to bring you guys our very first 3-day conference called the Bless God Summit, happening March 27th, 28th, 29th in Southern California. And at this conference, we'll have your very own Preston Perry.
Me, as an evangelist, I've made it up in my mind that I'm not going to leave people with an excuse not to serve Jesus.
Dr. Sean McDowell.
If there's one thing Christians should care about, it's truth.
Our vision with this conference is to equip, empower, and inspire people to do the work of the ministry that God has for them in this time. And at this conference, we'll have your very own Alan Parr and his wife, Jim Parr.
The number one reason, people want to get divorced because they want to find someone else who can make them happy. Now, what they don't realize, they're chasing the wind.
John McCrae from What Do You Mean?
What you may be shocked, or you may not be shocked to know, is that the majority of Christians in America, they don't know how to articulate the message of the gospel to non-believers.
Lila Rose.
Love and marriage go together, that sex and marriage go together, that sex can bring life into the world, and that's an amazing thing, that's not a bad thing.
Trizzle Fitness.
Most people fail at dieting because they're just trying to lose weight too fast. What are you in such a rush for?
But where a lot of people get stuck is figuring out what it looks like to walk in that. And so these 3 pillars of our conference will be covering everything from apologetics to family in the home and the marketplace, and how you can lean into those 3 pillars to discover your calling on this side of eternity.
And without a God of resurrection to work the miracle. So we've got order from chaos, we've got everything from nothing, order from chaos, life from non-life, and then we've got minds from mindless matter. How do you go from biology to psychology? Again, David Chalmers, an Australian philosopher of mind, says, how do you go from the water of the brain to the wine of consciousness? Well, I happen to believe in a miracle maker who makes that sort of stuff possible. And so I would say that all of those are miracles that are sort of life from the dead kind of things. And then when I look at Jesus, well, he claims to be our maker. And if he is who he says he is, it would be extraordinary if he didn't rise from the dead.
Then he can rise from the dead.
Yeah.
If Jesus is the creator of the universe, Colossians reveals all creation through him, then why would he not be able to do these things? So it's just how far back do you want to push out the initial miracles?
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
We all believe in miracles.
We all believe in miracles to certain degrees.
Yeah. So now we're jumping to more historical evidence,
right,
to understand the resurrection and the life of Jesus.
Yeah. The Son is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn over all creation. For in him, all things were created, things in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or powers or rulers or authorities, all things have been created through him and for him.
Let's go.
And he is the head of the body, the church. He is the beginning and the firstborn from among the dead, so that in everything he might have the supremacy. For God was pleased to have all his fullness dwell in him, through him to reconcile to himself all things, whether things on earth or things in heaven, by making peace through his blood shed on the cross. So if that's what we believe about Jesus, then of course we're okay with miracles.
Yeah.
Right? Of course we're okay with miracles. Of course we're okay with him rising. We believe he is the motion setter, creator. Everything is created through him and for him.
Come on.
So why would he not be able to rise from the dead?
As I believe in the resurrection, it's not because I'm adding one more absurdity to my worldview. I am looking through the lens of this life from the dead God, and it explains what would otherwise be absurd. See, with the God of resurrection, those other 4 miracles are explicable, right? They're still extraordinary, but they're explicable. And so the resurrection of Jesus is not one more absurdity. It is the explanation that makes sense of what would otherwise be absurd. So that's the scientific thing. And then the history thing. I mean, why are we even talking about Jesus? Why is this the year of our Lord 2023? Why didn't Christianity die with Christ? Okay, but it didn't die with Christ. Okay, there has been the most extraordinary resurrection of Christianity. How do we account for that? And in a sense, my book is an explanation of a Big Bang. You know, we inferred a Big Bang because we saw an expanding universe, and we wound back the clock, and we said, oh, there must have been an inflation point.
Which, by the way, the Big Bang was coined by a theist, actually a Catholic priest.
Shout out the Catholics.
So,
another innovation.
And really, I look in the book at the expansion of the Christian universe.
Right.
That we now inhabit. Yeah. And I wind things back. Where did it come from? It came from the first century. What was the bang? Because we've got this carpenter from Nazareth, this equivalent of a car mechanic from Ukraine, right? Who was tortured to death in his early 30s after just shooting off his mouth for a few years in some backwater of a long dead empire. And he towers above human civilization as Lord. How do you explain that? And again, the resurrection is not brought in as one more absurdity. The resurrection is a belief that makes sense of what would otherwise be absurd.
Come on, man. Wow. That was great.
Shout out to Glenn Scrivener. I want to give a shout out to his book. He basically did a simplified version of the Dominion book by Tom Holland, not the Spider-Man actor, and connects it to the Christian worldview very, very well. Yeah, it's called The Air We Breathe. So that right there. So shout out to him. So that kind of dives into what he's describing here, is how we all came to believe in freedom, kindness, progress, and equality. He actually has a debate with Bart Ehrman on this that I watched. That was really interesting. So he basically says, like, all of our modern values are traced back to Christianity.
Yeah.
And Bart Ehrman disagrees with him, but you know, the one he didn't disagree with him on was the idea of the charity and the compassion that Christianity infused into the world.
Hello.
That was because he had answers for everything else, right? But he couldn't disagree that, yeah, Christians are the ones that created this, like, I'm going to care for my downtrodden neighbor.
Wow.
Because in any other worldview, my downtrodden neighbor should just be extinct. There's no contribution that they're offering. Survival of the fittest, they're not. And so Bart Ehrman concedes, this is on the Premier Unbelievable YouTube channel, that he is right in that the compassion of the Christian worldview is, like, absolutely changed the world.
Wow.
Caring for orphans, caring for the least of these is, like, one-to-one correlated to Christians.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah, so shout out to him. Hey, thank you so much for checking out the video. Please be sure to comment below and subscribe and all that good stuff. And check out this other video that YouTube seems to be recommending just for you. Let me know if they nailed it. All right, I'll see you over there. Peace.